I believe we're doing ID items.
Okay, we are live.
Good. Okay, I'd like to call a meeting of the NDA order. Seeking a motion to approve the October 25th minutes. So. Second. Thanks, Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Cindy, you're up.
Okay, so first we have the budget versus actuals report. I highlighted some sections in green there, so that it's very similar to October's report. We're still looking at about 76% of the net income for the budgeted amount there. We are expecting to see a couple more incoming transactions through the end of the year, which are the possible income for the agency fee for the grant building LLC pilot. And bank interest, which is the CDs and the savings accounts. We're also expecting to see anticipated expenses, the pitch competition sponsorship. So much the pitch competition is tonight in the OC Center. Some upcoming traveling and training expenses, along with the pension liability that goes into on December 31st. But all in all, IDA is doing great and well with the budget.
Yeah, and I guess just clarification with grant building, they're just waiting for the land bank and some finalize some paperwork before we can do some project.
Okay, you good?
Only next one is the account balances. You can see the new CDs are listed on there along with the new savings account for the IDA. Right now, we don't have any pending pilot fees to pay. When the past due pilot is paid, that'll be transferred out to the taxing jurisdictions, which should be within the next week.
Well, I guess one update we'll have is, you know, we've been working with our consultants, MRB, on the former Butler prison study. And we are working on the REOI, the request for expression of interest. Our next steps is to have a document from our consultant for the draft REOI and present it to the steering committee that we have either at the end of the month or the beginning of early of December, so we can then put that out to the community to get interest and ideas for development.
That's when they ask for the interest.
Yeah, so it'll just be a request for expression of interest, and it's basically to give us a brief description of a project and what would be needed on the site in order to make that project work. So it'd help us give an idea of what type of planning and zoning we have to do, as well as how we present it to the state, what type of change.
I've had somebody contact me.
Yes, we will want them to contact, we're gonna have them contact the county, correct, for the IDA?
Responses to the request will go to consultant. Yeah. Contact information will be perfect, his name and email address, or name and email address and phone number. Probably already have them. We have an understanding of at least some folks who would respond. It'll be a public solicitation.
Yes, we're gonna also put a press release out about it as well. So there'll be a press release as well as the REOI document.
Okay.
REOI sample? Request for expression of interest.
Stop short of request initial step towards that. We're at a high level. We're not going to make it very clear we're not accepting purchase offers. We're just interested in.
Yeah, might be.
Correct.
Okay.
Can you say the developer?
Well, that developer, potential property owner, that there'll be probably a variety of interested parties coming to the table. And it could be a developer, it could be a private property owner, you know, private person.
I know 3 diverse.
Oh, I thought you were referring directly to a developer.
No, no.
That has withdrawn from the project, leaving.
Good.
Solar and housing continue to come up as topics in economic development. Katie, I don't know if you want to give them a brief update on that adaptive reuse. And
Yes.
your discussion there.
Last week, Jamie, Ariel and I went to the fall IDA conference. It was in Lyons Falls, New York. It was a one-day conference, and we had a lot of agenda items to discuss. One of the things that kept on coming up was housing and IDAs. In fact, the sort of director of the New York State ABO was there, and he really did sort of focus on that because people had questions and the approaches to take. And basically his top highlights were: 1, you have to have a housing plan in order to address why you're doing this with an IDA, which we have. We just finished a housing plan in June of this year through the planning department, that specifically addresses updating the UTEP. So we've got that covered. And he goes, you have to update the UTEP in order to reflect the housing that you would partake in. And we did that in July of this year. And then he also said, if you're going to do something like an adaptive reuse policy, have a separate policy on its own to describe how that policy is going to work and how that portion of the UTEP will work, which is also something we approved in July as well. So we're on the right track with that. The only thing he did mention is he said, you know, if you have all those things in line, he said, then also make sure you put it as part of your performance goals. So after that meeting on Thursday, I actually updated our performance goals. So there's one actually updated one. It hasn't been approved by the governance committee, but we are going to be presenting that at the next governance committee, and that will be added to it. So we're right in line with that. Adaptive reuse is really a good approach for IDAs and housing. And we have to define it as commercial, and that's what we've defined it as well as getting community support. And that's also a requirement of UTEP adaptive reuse policy. So we're really on a great track with that, which is really good. So we're looking forward to finding potential opportunities for that. And we've also updated our application as well, so that that can include, you know, specific questions about adaptive reuse. Just like we did with our solar, you know, now that we have some specific questions about solar, we also have some specific questions about adaptive reuse.
Good.
Then I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about solar.
Yep, just to put a fine point on this housing topic, I mean, it is becoming, I don't want to say pervasive, but some significant housing development projects receiving pilots. This is all about the application of pilots. We've been particular about identifying adaptive reuse, right? So existing warehouses you can think of conversion projects as opposed to greenfield housing development projects. We are seeing those. The law is somewhat particular. The IDA's applications for specific projects. Housing is not not listed as an eligible project to be supported. There's ways to go about it. And a lot of the conversations, how do you support housing as part of a larger economic development through the application of potential benefits. So our general approach, if approached with a project, would be a schedule similar to exactly like what we provide for all of our other projects. There are some particular caveats about additional qualifying. Transparent and clear about how you can qualify housing. Can't. A lot of this going on. In particular, I know several new greenfield housing development projects in other county. Certainly a discussion, Micron and other potential. It's called spin-off or cluster development, based on that project. Interested in advancing housing in the region. So, Madison County, Syracuse, all over Erie County. It's somewhat connected to this I corridor approval. And so I was there yesterday. Well, Regional Economic Development Council had their quarterly meeting or this conference center and housing. Certainly a discussion, but federal designation of this 20 or 30 areas of the country. There's a two-step process going on there. The federal government's committed $60 million. The total plan is $600 million over 10 years. Only funded 1 year, but this is sort of the nation that the first commitment of 60 million is kind of just to get everybody going. That 60 million would be distributed to a defined list of the pre-approved 30. So one of 30 areas in the country, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, this corridor. And they're submitting a plan that's due very soon, next 2 weeks, to the federal government that will allow them to whittle this down to, we're not sure, 5 to 10 regions. I think you know, this coalition of cities, I think, is upstate New York, a really interesting approach. Maybe 5, all 3, but I think it makes a ton of sense. I think the application is going to be very competitive. If you know, probably $10 million a year every year for 10 years, give or take, would be a significant opportunity to invest in new economic development projects. Economic development projects going to carry some sort of new workforce and housing. Connecting those dots in our role that we play in helping support issues in the housing development projects, or even our typical IDA stuff. Sure. Solar continues to come up as a topic of conversation, hopefully, as we talk about along the way you guys feel informed as to where we are. There's specifically a consideration here on Lions as an example to adopt a moratorium on solar to address the balance in the interest of the town and preservation of farmland and combination of solar. Most of the supervisors feel that they're guided some information on an approach. It's really local land use. You can't exclude solar from the community, but you can identify areas where you would like it and where you wouldn't like it. And that's really, I think, what Lions is attempting to do with their moratorium to kind of get a little more defined. There are proposals. There's one proposal in particular that is identified that would occupy prime soils, not just farmland. 10 categories of prime soils, the top 4 and best. This project would occupy a fair amount of those types of soils, and I think that's what we're purchasing to protect. We have made amendments to our UTEP to address the balance of protection of farmland and accommodation of a pilot for solar project, practically charging for solar projects that occupy acreage associated. Also responsible for. It's going to come to a head at some point. We'll have to details. Projects that convert farmland to commercial uses that are in an ag district are required to make notice to ag and markets, and that provides a whole bunch of data and really a breakdown of the acreage and percentages of potential soils. So we can use that as the basis for applying a fee schedule for soils. But at the end of the day, you know, it's about farmland protection. I don't want to ding projects too bad on the use of prime soils, but find areas that maybe aren't using best of the best soils. That really comes down to local folks doing, spending a little time and saying, we prefer it over here. Maybe but so great. As opposed to somewhere else. So I've worked through a fee schedule. Yeah, I do we have to see the application. I expect. And say the next 6 months. So we'll have to walk through that process and not gonna brag about the specials. Unappropriate fee schedule about the value of the soils. All this state value. So still refining that a little bit, but happy to work through. Solar development is nice sort of approves the last round of large scale solar projects fairly recently. Last month. None in Wayne County, 3 in Livingston County, large, we're talking, these are the 20 to 30, 50, 100 megawatt size stuff. So there is certainly not only solar, but in development projects, I think you guys saw in a couple of there was hydro too.
There's no, that is actually in Jefferson County.
Jefferson. Don't expect that we would see hydro project unless the canal corp decides to start with. Potentially wind. We're certainly in an area that is attractive for renewable energy development. As we transition. Otherwise, the only other thing, I mean, same stuff we continue to talk about, shovel-ready site development stuff. If you, but you're not on the economic, the governor's email list, could you get on it? Lots of notices in the last couple of weeks. But the second round of Fast New York is the state's shovel-ready site initiative, and the last allocation was a lot of money, 60 million available for applicants across the state. A very large award made in Genesee County. The total of this region was somewhere around 23 million. 1 year ago, which is being allocated to infrastructure development in the Stamp Business Park. We haven't really talked about this, but I'll keep up future discussion. We call them mega sites. It's a large topic of discussion regionally. If you're not familiar, Stamp is a 123-acre industrial park in Genesee County. Owned, developed, and being sold off by the Genesee County Industrial Development Agency. They've been able to attract 2 very substantial economic development projects based on their mega site, which took roughly a decade to develop, including a new substation and a lot of infrastructure work. Quite a few grants, public funding made available by the IDA. It does have me thinking about, the county's interest in potential mega site. It's been identified as one of the key parts of our ability to attract projects. If you look at the list of companies looking at the region, interested in potentially locating, they're not really looking at 5 to 10 acre sites, they're looking at 20 to 30 to 100 acre sites. So we don't have a lot of 100 acre site in the county and specifically identified. But if we were interested in attracting a project that 200 or 300 acres, we wouldn't really have an area for here's a good site. So some consideration to county's interest, local interest, certainly something I can discuss with current county board of supervisors, new county board of supervisors. Not something I would take lightly, or I mean, it would be a considerable amount of work and a focused effort to identify an area. It takes, like I said, Genesee County 10 years worth of work to even get the site situated to where they felt confident that they could say, here's the site ready for attraction. They're even continuing to deal with some seeker stuff. Their site, but Edwards Vacuum, a company directly related to the Light Run deal there in the Clay, Syracuse. A couple other large attraction projects that they need. The availability of electricity and infrastructure is going to be part of their track 300 plus, 400 plus job attraction projects. So something I continue to think about. Mega site development is controversial. It can considerably change the characteristics of the municipality. Setting aside 1,200 acres or 1,000 acres for new industrial development, substantial, but as you can imagine, that job creation associated with attractive projects, 1,000 acre business park, the housing necessary, workforce necessary to accommodate these things are all part of the mix. Comprehensive housing study, business park analysis that we're doing now, all those things tie into each other. Thoughts, mega sites, what do you think?
Well, so like right now, I'm just trying to make a list of the industrial parks that I know in this county. There's the one in Newark that you've been talking about,
Two kind of in Newark, you know, the
Silver Hill.
Silver Hill, which is
And the
the
Newark.
vacant land owned by the Economic Development Foundation.
How many acres are in Newark?
Newark, it's just about 30, it's very limited because to the north it's Arcadia. And then the rest of it has already been developed, so it's very
Like
limited.
smaller sites, right?
Yeah.
So there's the out there, so the largest acreage, contiguous acreage we could probably put together there is around 5 acres. It's not small per se for an economic development, but it's certainly not something to accommodate, say, a new solar panel manufacturing. Fairlife, Fairlife, that was in the news. Exploring opportunities here in the county. That's the only located in the new Xerox, former Xerox business park. They're just outside of the county. They were looking, ended up over there. We were Lines Industrial Park, the area in Lines identified as industrial. It's a little funky here. There's a one parcel owned by Lines Industrial Development Corporation. Folks who represent it and own it, but it is contiguous with other acreage over there that we've sort of through our business park analysis flagged.
Is this what park would be?
Right, yes, and so a few of those properties are also for sale. Which is used to be the Lion Industrial. And then Silgan. It's also for sale.
Light industrial.
That has about 40 acres available.
For AUT.
Thomas Electronics.
Yeah, yep.
We are going through a process of evaluating not only the existing industrial parks of the county, but identifying areas where we might pursue normalization of an industrial park, whether that might be maybe not, probably not through specific ownership, but areas we think of opportunities. Still not 200,
Right.
you know, 1,000. One large potential project. But not a formal business. The west side of the Ontario Park. It's still valid, but not a whole lot of acreage over there either. What's next in Ontario? Yep. Less than 100 acres. And, the next continues to grow, which I expect they will. They could even of that area. Something to consider or think about, particularly at the local level, but you know, something the IDA could play a role in, whether it's property acquisition, lots of stuff. Fast New York applications, that Fast New York is funding not only hard infrastructure projects, but planning work. I don't think we're at that point right now, but something to consider. Some of the awards, the first round of awards was in the $100,000 range, so not in the millions of dollars. As far as I think, round one was kind of the planning stuff. Round two, being hard infrastructure, which gets considerably more expensive. Kind of taking a phased approach. It's an area that business attraction is something I'm very interested in getting better at, more refined at, or more focused on. It's the reason we changed job description from your specialist job. Some shift how I that job, time we're spending. I'd be more than well now in the future, whenever thoughts or ideas on mega sites, traction efforts. I know we're country.
Next meeting is December 13th.